right, good morning, folks. Welcome in. It is House Edge Live with John here from Casino Gaming Central. I'm down in Vegas for the next week. Then I'm back home, and then I'm got a cruise coming up. So maybe we'll have some lightness on the shows in the coming weeks here because I'll be traveling and that kind of stuff. Anyway, happy Hump Day, everybody, and I think we have a good topic today. And I'd love to get your thoughts. I know Gary's already chomping at the bit to talk about the 5-hour tables. Yeah, I've got thoughts on 5-hour tables for sure, and they're back, which is a good thing and a bad thing. So they're back in Vegas, and let's really get into 5-hour tables and how we play them, and really kind of the experience you can expect at a 5-hour table because it's different than it used to be. As you can imagine, when things circle back, they don't always come back the same way they used to be. I know that a lot of us long for the old days in a lot of things. They don't always, when they come back and feel that way, it's not always that way. So let's get into it here and talk through a couple of things. First of all, even at the $5 level, by the way, even at the $5 level, the casino exists to destroy you, right? Even $5 at a time, they're looking to bankrupt you in some way, right? And I say this every day, and I mean it with all my heart. I don't begrudge them this. It's the business model. The business model of a casino is to challenge you. It's a war. We're going to fight a little battle. We're going to, it's going to cost money to fight the battle, and we're going to win all the time. That's kind of what it is. But you know that going in, right? I don't think that they set themselves up to take people's houses. Like, that's not the business plan. But the business plan is to take whatever you brought with you, whatever you brought in, and they look at me and go, thank God John's here because John's a stop loss zero guy. I'm taking all of John's money. Right, and they're okay with that. That's the model. Give you all the drinks you want, all the pretty lights, all the great music, and we're taking it all. And if you get good at the games that you're playing, you don't get to play anymore, or they'll change the rules. That's what we've seen most of the time. It's not so much that they kick you out, but they change the rules. And I'll give you a good example of this. Obviously, you have 6-5 blackjack, right? Blackjack has taken this weird turn, by the way. Blackjack has taken a turn from a 3-2 game, right, where the dealer stood on all those 17s. Now they hit the soft 17. Now they got 6-5 blackjack. Some casinos now require a side bet. Every game has a side bet, by the way. There's side bets all over the place. Some casinos in downtown Vegas, Fremont Street, require the side bet. You can't play the $10 game without an extra dollar on that goofy side bet. It's required now. The side bets have a 20-something% house edge, most of them. So even if you're playing perfect basic strategy, you can lower your house edge from 2.5% down to like 0.35% or whatever it is, right? So the edge is so thin on blackjack that they introduce 6-5 to help cut the edge or help increase the edge. Now they force you down this side bet road at 20-something% on even if it's a dollar bet, you're still throwing a dollar away. They got back their house edge. Basic strategy takes house edge away. Side bets give it right back. And even at $5 blackjack games, now you're required to play a side bet. I see signs everywhere down here. $5 blackjack. You go in there, yeah, it's $5, but they got 3 side bets and one of them's required. So the edge goes away. There's no point in playing a game like that, right? And the thing is that the tourists don't know. Now I almost said Shuby. When I'm from New Jersey, and we used to call it tourist shoobies. That was the old nickname for them. So when the shoobies come to town, right, the casinos here in Vegas, that's what it's all about. There's actually 2 Vegases. There's the Shooby Vegas, which is like the Strip and downtown, and then there's like the outskirts of Vegas, like where all the locals and the knowledgeable players go to play. So Shooby Vegas is all about 6-5, required side bets, that kind of thing. Even on craps. Now let's take all you craps players, raise your hand in chat. And raise your hand, especially if you're an ATS player. Because the ATS, again, to my second point here on this slide, the casinos will, I hate to say the word ban you, they will restrict what you can do. The ATS was a good bet for a minute when it paid 175 to 1 and 150 to 1 on the outsides, right? 35 to 1 on the outsides. Now it pays 150 and 30, okay? They raise the house edge of that side bet from 8% on the all to almost 22% just by lowering the payment from 175 to 150. Now, you degenerates all still play it like crazy people, right? Because it's still 150 to 1 when it wins. It's still a great win for you. But that that bleed of that bet was bad. Now it's 10 times worse, and we've all accepted it. We've all allowed it to go from 175 to 150 because you're still donking money out there to play the damn thing. That's what I mean by the casinos. When players were hitting that thing at the same rate they hit it now, that extra $25 that you're not getting paid, the extra bucks or $5-6 you're not getting paid on the outsides is enormous to the casino. Every $5 you're putting out there, right? Every time you're going 10, 10, 10, it's like you're going 7, 7, 7. Literally, that's how much money they're stealing off of you with those bets. That's what I mean when I say they will not allow you to play in any sort of advantaged way. There's card shufflers, there's all the things that take all the that ensure absolute randomness and also restrict payments. That's what they do now. So this is the business model that we're fighting. And the only tool that you got is your brain. That's it. This is your tools. Your tools are, some of you have bankroll, most of us don't, right? Your tools are how you view and play with risk, how smart you are, how well you can spot the shitty games and stay away from them, how well you know the games you're playing, right? Do you have discipline when you do play? Do you set goals and obey them? John, I don't always obey my goals. And do you have emotions, right? We had this talk yesterday. When I'm on vacation, a lot of this goes out the window. When I'm doing vacation play, a lot of these things go aside. I'm just having fun, which hurts my bankroll. But anyway, the tools you have are here. So remember that as we go to war every day. Remember, you are your own worst enemy. They are the real enemy, but you also fight yourself. They have done this psychological warfare on us that's absolute crazy town. All right. So what I want to get into and finish through this week here is this. So no shows tomorrow or Friday. I have busy days at work and stuff, but pardon me. Dig it or dog it today. I really want you in chat to be engaged today. So as I talk through what my observations are of the $5 table scene, I want your thoughts on $5 tables and low limit play in general. And it's funny. Well, you'll see how I feel about it in a minute. But I think moods change and your feelings change, although some things stay the same, right? A guy with a $300 bankroll views a $5 table and a $10 table and a $15 table differently, I think, because they're so concerned about number one here, which is the bankroll. Let me go back to that screen. They're concerned about their bankroll, so they target those lower limit tables. However, they're missing, I think, a big part of the story. So with that said, today's topic is dig it or dog it. And I would like to know how you feel about low limit tables in general, $5 tables in specific. And I just would love to get your general thoughts on it. I have played, since I've been in Vegas, I played $5 craps probably a good half a dozen times at 2 or 3 places. I played $5 blackjack, and I've not played any low limit baccarat yet. The low limit baccarat is the most depressing thing I've ever seen in my life. Literally, the most depressing thing I've ever seen. If you go to Palace Station, which is right by Casino Quest, so I go there quite frequently. When you go through Palace Station, there's an area in the back, and I don't want to dog the casino because it's not their fault, obviously. But there's a big like what do you call it? Like a stadium style pit in the back. There's like probably, I don't know, Dan, you've been there. There's probably 20 computer terminals where you're betting, right? And there's 2 dealers in the front that are on podiums, and they're dealing baccarat. And it is the most boring thing I've ever seen in my life. Number one, you have these 2 dealers up there that are not talking, they're not engaging at all. They're just up there like they're hanging from hooks almost, right? Literally, they're just like there and they're kind of dealing, and it's like the slowest possible deal. It's like very deliberate. Everything is like this. It's just like watching paint dry, right? Because they're on a timer, the way that they do that game. All the players are out there. They can play baccarat for $1. I think it's $1 minimum up to whatever. It is brutal. It's slow. Everybody's got because you don't have to keep your own cards anymore because the computer keeps all the different roads for baccarat. And the players, half of them are asleep. They're just like, all you see is that you see people heads on hands. They're like, literally, they're all the way down. I saw a guy with his face on the screen the other day. Like, it is the most depressing thing I've ever seen in my life. Regular baccarat's got its own weird energy and vibe to it. With the emergence of hyper what do I call that? Hyper superstition play in baccarat, you get this weird lurkers system going on. At that system, there's no lurkers. People there's no energy. They're just like this. Anyway, that's a whole different game. But I played a $5 blackjack game. And the $5 blackjack game, what you find is this. People don't care about 6 to 5 when it's $5. That's the first thing you find, is that people who are playing at the $5 level don't care about 6 to 5, because in their mind, and I've asked people, why are you playing this game? They literally they say the dollar doesn't matter to me. The dollar doesn't matter. So as an example, you're playing $5 blackjack, and if you get a blackjack, it would normally pay $7.50. They're getting paid $6. To them, it's $1.50. Who cares? That's literally the attitude of people, right? At a $5 table on blackjack, it's $1.50. Who gives a shit? They don't care about that. That $1.50 matters. To me, that's a huge percentage of what you should have got paid. They look at that like, I can't even buy a pack of gum with $1.50. But when you extrapolate it out and go out to, like, a $50 bet, it's different. 50 pays 75 versus 50 paying 60. That's 3 gallons of gas, right? That's a big difference. But the people at the $5 tables don't really see that as a difference. They wipe that away, and the casinos know this. Like, I look at that and I hear that attitude. I know, God, the casinos are brilliant. They can shove a shit game out there, 6 to 5, put a low limit on it, and people disconnect from how bad the game is. It's unbelievable. What you also find at those $5 tables are, and I used to joke about this. Remember when I was doing shows from my hometown in Wenatchee, Washington? I used to say, and I this is the truth. The people in Wenatchee, we have a $3 blackjack game, right? And there's 3 side bets. And what people do is they'll play the $3 on the main bet, on the actual blackjack game, God forbid, and they play $1 on every side bet. They're actually hedging their side bets. They're using blackjack as a way to hedge off their side bets so they can hit some crazy 20 for 1 thing, right? And they end up, in this tie situation or a loss situation almost all the time. They lose 6 or they tie. Lose 6 or tie. Lose 6 or tie. Win 20. And they're back to the losing 6 tying cycle. That's what you see at a $5 table. People chasing the weird dream, and they don't even play blackjack. They're playing no bust. They're not going to ever lose that hand. They're taking all the ways of busting away so they can save that hand to preserve their freaking side bets. That's the $5 game. That's the $5 player, it seems to me, mentality as I watch these people play. And it almost makes me sad that it hurts my soul that you don't care about the payout and keeping the casinos honest. That hurts me that people don't even care about that. That they're chasing these weird, again, they're chasing the ATS. And the ATS, we'll talk about the ATS and traps in a minute. People are chasing the side bets at a $5 game way differently than people chasing it at the higher limit games. Okay? And what I mean by that is, at least the people in Wenatchee that are doing the hedged $3 blackjack base bet to pay for their side bets, at least they have a plan, right? They're planning to hedge the side bets to make the miracle. At least they're kind of going after it, right? Versus the $5 craps players who are lacing money on the ATS all day long, praying to God for a miracle. They're praying for a miracle. They aren't planning for it. They aren't betting around it. They're praying for a miracle. And that's the thing I notice, is this attitude around the $5 table is praying for a miracle. You love stadium baccarat, give you more time. Very true, Dr. S. I mean, that stadium baccarat for sure is that's probably why the guy fell asleep. He's probably back there drinking them free drinks. But you know what's funny? Even on the stadium games and on slots, I don't know if Palace does this, but a lot of casinos do this. You probably have noticed it. My wife actually brought this to my attention. You don't get free drinks anymore at slots. Did you know that? Who thinks you, raise your hand. Do you think you get free drinks when you're playing slots or when you're playing stadium? You don't, actually. You get a free drink allowance when you bet a certain amount of money. After a certain amount of time or money at that table, a light comes on that says, or they're alerted that you're allowed to now come through and give you a drink. That's why they're slow, by the way. It's not like they're on purpose. They're not supposed to come to different slot areas. Because I actually know somebody who works as a cocktail waitress. Until you've played long enough or have dumped enough money in the machine to earn another one, then they come through with their coffee drinks. That's literally it. And I think the stadiums are the same way. I think that they work the same way. There's an alert system where the wait staff knows you're now eligible for a drink, and they'll come to you and not somebody else. Literally, that's how that works now. So again, the casinos have got this thing on lock. It's crazy, isn't it? Anyway, let's talk more about the $5 games. So what I noticed at most $5 games, and I'll speak mostly to craps because what I play most often, right? But like I said, I find the same problems I find at the other games. You have, for the most part, new dealers, break-in dealers. They'll put them on the $5 games, and the reason for that is because of what's below. And I'm going to kind of go through all this thing, right? You will find a lot of new players at $5 games. You'll find two types of players, right? New players and players who need to play at a lower limit. That's the two people who frequent the $5 games, right? New players or players who are low bankroll and want to play a real game, not stadium or bubble, and they want to play on a real table with their light bankroll. The new players aren't a problem, although when you have a new player coupled with a new dealer, that is a problem because neither one of them know what the hell's going on. And that interaction is painful to watch. It's super slow and it's painful. And I say, when I circle back, in the old days, the $5 tables, I used to walk Harris in Atlantic City when I was a kid, waiting for the tables to come from 5 to 3 so I could play. Because $5 was too rich for my blood. On Saturdays, it would be $10 tables, and forget it, I couldn't play at all. With the $100 I had, I couldn't play $10 tables at all. I had $100 for 2 days. Could never play a $10 table. And you'd walk the floor Saturday for hours, waiting for that, 2 o'clock in the morning when it went from 10 to 5. And then I would kind of dip my toe in the water, right? Sunday morning came and the $3 tables got back. That's right. I fit in the same category. I was the underfunded player back in those days, right? But in Atlantic City, you had good dealers. They were all, they all were professionals. Here you've got $50, $100 games, a lot of $25 games, a lot of $15 games, and dealers that are better, of course, go to the strip, go to the higher places in general, not always, but in general, that's where they're dealing, and they're used to the higher denomination bets, and things are a little more rhythmic and fast. At a $5 game, you got dealers that are, and I've seen this, they're shaking, they're trying to make the move, they can't get the chips to work right, and you have a new player who doesn't know how to press. What I see a lot of $5 tables, believe it or not, is a lot of $5 6s and 8s. You see a lot of $5 6s and 8s because people don't know, and dealers won't correct. Okay, and what you end up with is I need a $5 6, $5 8 because they're used to playing bubble craps. And they walk over the table and they drop it down there. The dealer knows that that's not the proper bet. They know it, but they're not. They don't own the game enough to tell the player, "Sir, I need $1 from you to make that a proper bet." And part of that is they don't have the confidence in themselves to make the proper ask of the player. Part of it is they can look in the rack and see that a player's only got $11 left. And to ask the player for 2 of his $11 to make the bets right, they feel bad, right? So then what ends up happening is, of course, the player gets shorted on the payment. When the bet wins, they don't get the full $7 that they should get on a $6 bet. You see that all the time at these tables. Or that happens and it's like, what does this bet pay? And they have to ask the pit, and it's a whole thing, right? So the new plus new is never good. That's not a good combination, especially when the tables are busy, okay? You also find at $5 tables what I call the ugly players. The $5 tables are ugly finders, right? If you ever played baseball, you'll know the reference to an ugly finder. $5 tables are ugly finders. You have all sorts of ferrets. If you listen to Casino Tears at all, you'll hear Fran and Ed talk about the ferrets. Every ferret is at the $5 table. They are horrible, right? Buying in mid-roll, there's no etiquette. Buying in mid-roll, putting money on the don't and rooting for the 7, like just complete zero self-control. You find that a lot. What you also find at $5 tables are degenerates, complete degenerates that never collect because they look at the $5 tables and go, it's $32 across, whatever. And they're going to bring in $500, they're going to go 32 across, and they're going to press to black, right? Try and get from 5 to black. And that's all. And it's press. And again, mostly new dealers who don't know the press moves. So that guy is getting pissed off. You got a guy who has bankroll, actually, playing at the $5 level for the sole purpose of taking $32 shots at table max, right? Those dealers aren't ready for that. They aren't ready for the power pressing. God forbid you throw in $4 for a power press somewhere. They're like, what do I do? They're not even sure, most cases, what player gets, where players' money are, right? So the guy that's the degenerate that's taking advantage of a $5 table to take $32 shots at glory on some random shooter messes the table up. It actually slows the whole freaking thing. It's crazy town, right? I also see a lot of testers. Now, good or bad, people recognize who I am, right? So when I go to a game, oh my God, it's Sean from Pro Craps, how you doing? And, high-fiving and all this kind of stuff, right? And those, have you seen Waylon's whatever? Have you tried this strategy from so-and-so? And I'm like, yeah, I've seen it. What do you think? I'm trying it over here. And then what you end up with is people trying strategies out and don't know how to play them, right? So we tell you all the time on YouTube, this is a great way to play. Make sure you practice it. Well, people practice them at the $5 tables. And I know people who have money who buy in for $1,000, $1,500 at a regular table, like a $15, $25 table. They'll buy in for that amount of money at a $5 table, right? And try like the retirement plan or something at the $5 level because they can afford to do it and, whatever. But a lot of those strategies get really complicated. If you haven't practiced it, the retirement plan can be a bitch to remember all the numbers that you're, the amount of the stopper bet that you have to place, the amount of the lay you got to put out there. And they're trying to figure it out and they asking the dealer, what do I got to do to plug the hole? And it becomes a whole thing. And then it's when you get like a, $170 lay out there or $160 lay out there on some number, the dealers can't pay that at a $5 table, right? Or if you're doing the 410 ladder and it gets too high and the VIGs are weird and it's just a clusterfuck is what happens at these games. And the $5 tables have become a complete clusterfuck. That's the only word that I can use to describe it. Between the degenerates pressing to the ceiling, the people testing out things they saw on YouTube and don't really know how to scale down or how to move bets around, people who don't know the game, and sometimes ferrets purposely don't have etiquette. It's a problem. I think $5 games on the craps table especially have become a mess. Everybody's chasing the ATS and everybody's chasing hard ways. That's also what you see too, because it's a low barrier to entry. So you see a lot of 1-1-1, a lot of 1-2-1. I see a lot of 2-1-2. The ATS area it looks like a minefield. It's terrible. And God forbid a 7 comes and it all has to clear and it all goes back up again, right? It's so hard to manage that part of the game. It slows everything down completely. And the newer players, the $5 players, are going, oh my God, if I can just hit if I can just hit an ATS, it would make my whole weekend, right? People who play at the higher levels that are playing the ATS, and I'll let Fran talk about this tomorrow. I think he will on his show on Casino Tiers Live. The way that Fran and that group targets the ATS is different. They're going for the ATS. They have a plan to attack the rolls, to attack the come out play, they're attacking the whole ATS as a holistic bet, right? With a different mindset than the $5 player. And I know that the mathematicians out there are going to tell you it doesn't matter. It's a shitty bet and blah, blah. I say the same thing, right? Whether you're attacking the bet with a bunch of hedges or whether you're praying for a miracle, it's the same thing. It is the same thing, but the way that people approach it is different. And you can just see it. You can feel the energy at the table with the ATS with a bunch of dollars on it and the ATS with hundreds and $25 bets on it. There's a different energy to it. There's a different way that it's approached. And I'm telling you, it just brings the mood down. It's such a weird, the $5 tables have such a weird vibe. I was not ready for the vibe of a $5 table. Now, if you just put yourself in a isolation booth and say, I'm going to play $5 craps, great, good for you. If you can shut out all that noise and accept a very slow game, then good for you. When I'm there at the table, all that negative energy that I'm feeling about what I'm seeing, and the people that are, again, the ferret that's buying in for $87 and praying to God that his $5.06 hits this time so he can grab a $5.08 next time, that energy is so hard to play with to me. For me to play in that soup, it's hard. It's just a low quality game. Used to be the $5 game was the default. Now $15 is the default. So the $15 game today is what the $5 game used to be. And you had a mix of new players, a mix of like a break-in dealer with two steady dealers. You had players who had money, players who were kind of playing close to the vest, but it was a more true to life game. That was the old $5 game. The new $5 game is not that at all. It's not even close to that. So I'm glad that we have it. I'm glad that there's an option for low bankroll players to play on. I'm a low bankroll player. I will never play $5 craps unless I'm on a thing like we're doing like a Little Birds event or something. I will avoid those tables now. Like it's completely moved me away. And maybe that's what some casinos are seeing, is that some of the more seasoned players like, God, give me a $25 table, please. And let's get some of the ferrets off of this damn thing. It's interesting. As a low budget player, which I am, I prefer the $25 game. I prefer a $25 game. A, I can win at a $25 game. B, right, you can't really win at a $5 game. Unless you have a miracle, you can't win. You can win 10, $15 on average per shooter. That's nothing. You can't win big money unless you have a miracle roll. At a $25 game, an 8-10 roller should win you a couple $100. To me, that's a meaningful amount of money. I'll take that, right? An 8-10 roller at a $5 game is $12, $15 in profit for most people because you got bets pressed up. It's a much harder game, and it's so much less enjoyable than I ever thought it would be. It's crazy town. So anyway, that's some of my thoughts on the $5 tables. I'm going to go to questions and comments and see what your thoughts are on the $5 game, and let's see where we land here. And by the way, I got to give a shout out to somebody. I'm not sure if he's watching the show today, but when I'm working at Casino Quest, this is kind of a side note here. When I'm working at the store, it's very interesting because most people come in and they're there to see David and Alex, right? Or Dennis, which is great. I mean, those guys are famous. And it's kind of cool to watch when people come in and they get to meet them and that kind of stuff. Sometimes people come in and they go, "Oh my God, John from ProCraps, you're working in here." Wow. And we start talking, right? I had a guy come in yesterday who had recognized me. I actually met him out in Kansas City when we were out there for Chiro's funeral. And we talked for about 5 or 10 minutes, right? And then I had a conference call. Then we had a call with David and the team on Zoom. So we had a kind of retreat over to one of the areas. And I didn't get a chance to spend more than 5 minutes with that guy. I'm sorry, I forget. If you're here on the show, I forget your name. But I forgot, I couldn't get over there because we had our meeting, and he shot dice for an hour while we were in the meeting, and then he left and just kind of did one of these, wave goodbye. So I'm sorry, sir, that I didn't get a chance to kind of hang out with you and play more and talk betting more with you while we had our meeting, but that happens sometimes. And so it's always a treat for me when somebody comes in and recognizes me and wants to talk, and we can just strategize for as long as we want to. You know, it's part of their hourly rate anyway. So come on in and see me. I'll always try and make time for you and hang out, except for yesterday when I couldn't and I felt like shit about that. So anyway, let me go through here and read some. I'm going to search for the questions. Whoops, search for cues, and we'll see what we have. So all right, let's see. You know what, Skill? We were going to do that. We're so busy with the app. We may still do one. We are so busy with the app. It's crazy. My schedule, by the way, I get up at 7 o'clock or 6 in the morning actually to start the show. I get up at 6. I get my breakfast. I check emails and stuff. I do this show. Then I go right to a meeting for work. And then I work on the app until about noon. Or about it depends on the day, but about 10 to 10:30 or noon, depending on what time I'm going into the store. Work the store all day, come back home at 8 o'clock at night, and I'm working on the app till midnight. Like there's no time to film. Those guys are filming. So the reason why I came down here is because they are doing a lot of filming. Alex is going to be on vacation for a while, so they're trying to get a bunch of roulette videos in the hopper. They're trying to film a bunch of new dealer videos. So they need to be able to close the back door, shut it, and film for 5-6 hours at a time. That's why I'm there. I can take the store over while they're filming, right? So there's no time for me to jump in and film. But we have talked about it because he makes fun of me. He thinks I'm a grinder, which I kind of am. but I don't think David's actually ever dealt to me. So I think if I ever stood in front of him and played the way I really play, I think he would A, have a different opinion of that, but B, it'd be a lot of fun because I want to watch him make the moves that I make, because I do a couple of regressions that are a little bit of a pain, and I'd love to see him deal with those regressions out. Anyway, you're good call. Let's see, Gary, this is a great comment. I love the $5 table and playing vacation style because you can go for the monster for $32, right? That's a fun time. And I would agree with you, right? The problem with that is the people that are, when the whole table's doing it, or, you know, a bunch of people, it makes it hard on the dealers to do it. But 100%, right? Going, 110 inside, getting a hit, going 32 across and hammering the table, that's a cool thing to try and do. Right. But nobody really does that. What happens is they put their 32 out there and they cry and bitch and moan when they don't win anything. That happens all the time. All right. Let's see. You're right, Tom. Dealers used to be part of the experience and chat the game up. Not so much now. A lot of the lower limit tables, the dealers are so new, they can't chat it up. They just can't. They're not capable of chatting it up yet. That they're breaking in so they can later on become that dealer. I also found, by the way, at some of the higher limit tables, you don't get a lot of that either. A lot of the higher limit dealers, they are a little cocky and they don't enjoy the people. Like they've gotten to that level because they've been dealing for 15 years and now they're just like putting in their time. Just an observation for sure, but I love it. And Daryl, yeah, 100%. This is why they made Bubble Craps, was for the $5 game, right? It was made for teaching. The problem with Bubble Craps is there's no teacher. You're on your own to figure shit out at Bubble Craps. At least at a live game, you do have some help, but the help that you're getting is from somebody who's also learning the game. So, yeah. So when I say attacking the ATS, what I mean is not that it's a higher win rate, right? But you get a table that's, and again, it's a different game. Let me put it this way. If you've got $5 on the tall, we'll just take the tall as an example. $5 on the tall, right? Which is going to win what, 150, right? And let's say you only have the 9 left. Okay, you could lay the 9 for $75, right? And guarantee yourself $75 win or a $50. You can lay it for that and guarantee a win, right? That's what I mean by attacking it, right? At the $5 game, that doesn't make any sense, right? If you're playing $5, well, maybe it does if you're a $5 player, but that lay on the number that you're missing doesn't make a whole lot of sense when your net profit on that's going to be a quarter. You fought all that way to get to leaving one number, and you need a quarter, and you're going to win a quarter off it. It's not worth it, right? And people will see, who do that, lay the number, do it out of reflex, I think, but it's not worth it. If you've got blacks on the ATS, if you're black up top, and you only need the 9, that'll win you $3,000. Now we're talking about laying it for $1,500 and locking up a $2,000 or a $1,500 or a $1,000 win. That's meaningful. That's what I mean by attacking the ATS, right? So guys that play that way are looking, it's a different game, and not everybody's doing it, but the guys that do that attack that bet differently than the guy with 5s and 1s who's doing one of these praying for a miracle. There's a different energy to that game. And yes, those other high limit players attack the come out on that. They have come out games that are designed to ensure that the 100 is always clean. There's always a clean $300 up there based on the come out game, which may cost them a little bit on the come out, but they're insured to get the 3 clean bets up so they can target that lay with big bankroll. Most of us can't do that. We don't have the kind of bankroll, A, to put blacks up there, and B, to put the right amount of lay up there. That's what I mean by attacking. So when I say attacking it, it's not about the throwing, it's about the betting on it. And that's a different vibe. And at a high limit table, not everybody's doing that. It's that the ATS on a big limit table is not a clusterfuck. It's typically 2 guys at black, 3 guys at green, and that's the whole table. And it's very easy to manage, right? It's very easy to manage. It's a controlled environment versus the cluster that we see normally. So I hope that makes sense as I explain that. All right, that's all the questions I can see, I think. Skill said there was a PC out there too, so let me check the PCs. Yeah, I love this quote, right? People don't care about the $1.50. You're going back to the blackjack example, the 6-5 versus 3-2 payout at a $5 table. The $1.50 difference that you're losing out on by playing 6 to 5, $5 blackjack versus a 3 to 2 game is because they're uneducated. If they really knew the real full cost and still don't care, they deserve what they get. And that's the person I'm talking about, Skill, right? They don't care. There are people at that level that just don't care. They want to play so badly with their tip money. And it's a shame to say it, right? But people bring from another casino, they bring their tip money in and they go to a $5 game because it's what they can afford with their tip money from that day. And they're playing 6 to 5 blackjack and they don't care because they just want to play. They just want to win and go from a $63 afternoon of tips to $100 even to get home. That's what happens, right? That $5 game has become that all across the casino to me. It's a different game. It's not the tourist that's playing to win. It's not us with a plan trying to build bankroll. What you see most times at $5 tables is that it's that type of ferret play that I'm talking about that we see. And that's it's a little sad that they don't care. Sad that you're right, they don't know. And sad that the casino has installed those games under the guise of we have $5 games and knowing full and damn well that what's going to happen is they can put side bets out there, which they will all chase. All the $5 players chase all the side bets 100% of the time. $5 games, 3 side bets, 2 side bets, and they're always loaded with money. $5 players play every side bet. $25 players never play side bets. You watch a game. Watch a $25 blackjack game. Nobody plays the side bets. Maybe they play when they're at black level. They'll drop a $5 chip out there once. They're not playing the game for side bets. They're playing the game. Low limit players are there for the fucking side bets. And you can watch it when you see the ATS or whatever else. That's where all the low limit players' money goes. And just load up the box with massive hardway bets, massive ATS bets, because all they want is better than 1-to-1, and they want a miracle. That's what you see. And that's my final thoughts on it. This is, again, my observations from a short period of time being here. That's the vibe that I get. And again, not that I hate it, but it's a little bit soul crushing to watch how those games work when it used to be different. $5 games used to be the norm. Now they're the specialty, and the specialization of $5 games is not what you think it is. So it's just interesting. No, I don't think you're going to lose more for sure, Daryl. To me, energy is maybe you're talking to somebody else, but I don't believe in that, right? The energy, the whole metaphysical thing, to me, it's about a good time, right? If you're having low energy and you're kind of pissed off and you're just shaking your head at what's happening around you, I just think you put yourself in a bad place, right? You put yourself in a bad place, you make bad decisions. And I've always been that thing. You put yourself in a bad headspace, you'll make a bad call. And that ends up being what happens, right? So there it is. I think that's it. Waylon's Way said the first thing dealers are trained to do is ask if you want odds with your pass line and come bet, not ask you if you want them on DP. That's interesting. I have been asked about that, by the way. The dealers do ask about odds on my don'ts. They always point them out to me, but so many players don't play the don't that dealers I think are in rhythm using are asking for the regular pass line odds. Anyway, all right, I think that's it, guys. Is that a good topic today? Was that a good little Johnny rant? Hope that you guys got something out of that. Just be aware, right? It does ultimately, the dice don't care what the limits are. The roulette ball doesn't care. The shoe doesn't care what you're betting, right? None of that matters. It's all still casino randomness. All of this is emotional shit. It's all baggage that I'm talking about. Just so you understand the energy. No, it's not. I'll be back next week, Gary, but here's what's going to happen. So next week, I'm going to do a show probably Monday and Tuesday next week. I think Wednesday I drive back to Seattle. So Wednesday I'll be driving back to Wenatchee. So Wednesday's a travel day for me. Thursday, Friday, I may or may not do a show. We'll see how I feel. But we're going to be on a cruise the week following. No. Then I have a whole week of shows, and then we're on a cruise the week after that. So you'll have a couple shows next week, a full week of shows the week after that, and then it's cruise time for me. So I'll be back July 3rd from the cruise, and then I'm back in Vegas again, probably a week or so later, roughly a week or so. I'm going to try and be here for July 15th. I'm going to try and be here for August 22nd. So I'm going to be down here for about 1 week each month. And I'm trying to time those trips with app release dates. So July 15th, I should be here. August 22nd, I should be here. My birthday, September 12th, I should be here. So that is the plan as it lays out right now. So, all right. Y'all have a great day. Love y'all. God bless. I'll leave you with I forgot yesterday, but I'll leave you with what we heard from Sweet Lou. Stay focused, right? Follow your plan. Observe conditions we talked about today. Control your emotions like we talked about today. Understand your game and your odds like we talked about today. And of course, always stay disciplined. Love y'all. God bless. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.